Former President George W. Bush has had what appears to be a Freudian slip when talking about the war in Ukraine. Let's listen.
In contrast, Russian elections are rigged. Political opponents are imprisoned or otherwise eliminated from participating in the electoral process. The result is an absence of checks and balances in Russia and the decision of one man to launch a wholly unjustified and brutal invasion of of Ukraine. Iraq, anyway. 75.
Well, at least he can make a joke about it, I guess.
It is funny. It's some dark humor, though. I mean, it's funny. There's no way around it, but
he shouldn't even be talking on this. Why is he speaking about the war in Ukraine and invasions? I mean, he's like the guy that should be this is the time to go take a bath and paint some paintings.
And he knows it. He knows it.
But he's an expert on unjustified invasions of other people's countries.
Yeah, there could not be a clearer distillation of everything that is wrong with American hypocrisy and the posture that the establishment has taken toward the war in Ukraine than that Freudian slip. I mean, you could write thesis after thesis on the layers of irony there. And the fact that, he afterward he kind of chuckles and he says like, oh, it's because I'm old, but also seems to acknowledge in the chuckle that it's true, like he accidentally told the truth. There's like a weird contrition, like we're like, yeah, well, you got me, guys. It was me, Sames. It's the Spider-Man meme with Russia and the United States pointing at each other and saying invasion, imperialism.
I mean, I think it's a reminder that virtually no one left in the Republican Party will defend the decision to invade Iraq. Probably I don't know that most of George Bush's inner circle even does, or the people who were around then. Jeb Bush, when he ran for president in 2016, he said, yeah, knowing what we know now, we actually should not have done it. It's his brother. So there's no appetite to defend that sort of thing whatsoever. It's just an acknowledged blunder. It was acknowledged by many Democrats at the time, although not all. So many supported it, including candidate Hillary Clinton. But it's not something the Republican Party is interested in defending at all. And in fact, they've gone the other way and are now, by some measures at least, the less inclined toward military intervention party of the two, which actually historically was also the case. Like if you go back and start thinking about, World War II, probably most people think was a war of necessity, but that was waged by Democratic presidents. So was World War I. So was with the Korean War at its start, the Vietnam War until the very end. Right? Actually in the 20th century, it was a lot of Democrats prosecuting these wars, and there was certain strains of isolationism and opposition to that kind of thing in the Republican Party. And then the party became gradually much, much more hawkish, and then swiftly much more hawkish in the sort of after 9/11. But it ended up kind of being a blip on the map for the Republican Party. It's 10 years in being the party of war, and now it's kind of a little bit, I think, going back to how it was historically throughout the 20th century.
Yeah, it's wild how that happened. Well, if you think this clip calls for the curb your enthusiasm treatment, you're not alone. Let's take a look at this.
The result is an absence of checks and balances in Russia and the decision of one man to launch a wholly unjustified and brutal invasion of Ukraine. Anyway, 75.
Oh, man. Obviously what we're talking about is, tragedy of horrific proportions. But also, It's just so rare that you get this level of political honesty. You can't help but enjoy it. I think Ryan tweeting that this is his favorite gaffe of all time. And I think I might be with him on that.
It's accidental honesty. Mm-hmm. Accidental honesty. Yeah. I don't know. I don't know what else there is to say about it. It was quite a moment. So,
well, do we think it'll change anything? Like,
No.
There's a world
No.
where he says that out loud, kind of looks around the room and has a Bulworth moment, with Warren Beatty. And he says, you know what? I was wrong. And also, what are we doing here? And, why are we going into Somalia? And,
I don't get the reference you just made. What is that?
it's a movie, might be a little bit before your time, Robby. I know you're the youth in our midst, but it was a 90s movie, I think, with Warren Beatty and Halle Berry, and it's a presidential candidate who I think has some kind of breakdown and decides to start telling the truth. And what do you know? It made him enormously popular.
Also never
It
going to happen.
would. If a politician were to be truthful, it would make them enormously popular. But, what's interesting about this is as how many, we're laughing at his gaffe. Everyone in the room laughed at his gaffe rather than actually kind of gasping. That probably would have been a better response, or at least a more appropriate response, is for people to go, yeah, that. And then maybe have a little bit of self-awareness and some self-reflection, and to say, the United States pointing fingers at Russia, going after Russia with sanctions and all these other things for their invasion. What if the world would have done had the same reaction towards the United States when we invaded Iraq? Mm-hmm. That would have been interesting, but that's not what happened. We didn't have the same treatment against us. Russian citizens right now are still, I'm getting married in about 3 weeks. My best friend is Russian. She cannot leave the country. She can't fly here, be in my wedding. My bridesmaid, and she can't be in my wedding because we're putting restrictions on Russian citizens, blaming them for the actions of their government. And now McDonald's is leaving Russia. There's all of this stuff that's going on to harm the Russian people, to harm the Russian citizens. But that's kind of the MO of the United States, with our sanctions and how we go after countries. We don't target the leaders. We don't punish just the governments. We actually punish the citizens as well. But luckily, the world didn't do that to us. So we don't even know we didn't even get an opportunity, I guess, to get a dose of our own medicine.
Kim, I don't know how you're going to live down the "my best friend is Russian" comment. I'm looking forward.
Well, okay, I can say also that I have family. So I have a best friend that happens to be Russian, but I also have family that actually are from Ukraine that are here in the United States now. So I see both sides, I suppose.
Yeah, of course, there's nothing wrong with having a Russian best friend. Many of my best friends are Russian as well. But thank you for that, and we will have more Rising for you after this.